Thank you so much. I think education and entrepreneurship, especially in the African context, is crucial. As we know, like Africa has the youngest youth population, and it's going to be staying the same for the next few decades to come. Unfortunately, the job market is not able to create jobs for all the young people leaving university or high school, and that's why entrepreneurship is a real viable career option. I also think there are major challenges in our education system currently, in the way that it doesn't prepare young people for the job market, but also the quality of education that young people are receiving is just not at par for them to be able to compete locally, regionally, or even globally. So firstly, in terms of education, we do need a major reform in the curriculum, but also in the quality of teachers. For this, I of course think that the teachers themselves need better training and upskilling at university level, but also continuous professional development to learn best practices from countries that are doing education very well, like Finland, for example. Beyond the education part, when it comes to entrepreneurship, like I said earlier, I think we still are very traditional in the way that we study, the way that, we look for careers. So a lot of young people are studying business administration or human resources, and unfortunately the job market cannot absorb them, right? For example, in Namibia, we have thousands of graduates every year, but there's just not enough jobs for them. So we see young people being unemployed even though they have a university degree, or they have to do jobs that they didn't study for, often underpaid. So to address this gap, I believe that first of all, we need to, of course, have a mindset shift, have young people actually studying science, technology, engineering, as well as arts and mathematics fields or engineering fields. But beyond that, we also need to look into entrepreneurship, right? So I think teaching entrepreneurship at a more consistent level, at a better and a higher level in schools, to show young people that even though they may have a traditional career, they should also have entrepreneurial skills to be able to turn whatever career they've studied into a business. I believe it's the only way that young people can create opportunities for themselves, but also create employment for others. Okay, so for the past 7 or 8 years, I've been working in the innovation and entrepreneurship space, and specifically what it looks like in growing innovation ecosystems in Southern Africa. In order for entrepreneurship to thrive, you need to have a conducive ecosystem, right? So you need to have the financiers, the policy level, but also the incubation and accelerator hubs that are supporting entrepreneurs in order to be able to thrive. Because if you don't have this supportive environment, it makes it very difficult for businesses to be started, but also for businesses to grow and to scale. Right. So what it means in terms of growing innovation ecosystems, we as the support ecosystem or the support providers, we need to be able to develop policies that are conducive for entrepreneurs, especially tech policy, because a lot of the time innovation is created by entrepreneurs, but then it's illegal because, AI, for example, people don't really understand it. There's a lot of challenges that come with, creating innovation, because there are also dangers that come with, creating new products. So for policymakers, it's understanding what innovation means, but also being able to regulate it, right? And what often happens is that, especially for tech entrepreneurs, the solutions or the products they create are not legal in the countries because the policies don't allow for it, right? So government also needs to move faster in order to keep up with the pace of technology, and therefore also not to stifle the growth of entrepreneurs. That's the first one. I think there's also a big challenge in terms of doing cross-border trading on the continent, especially with doing financial payments to an entrepreneur in a different country. So our central banks also play a big part in allowing fintech and transactions to take place across borders, and not to make it so difficult, because especially for small businesses, it's very difficult to trade across borders because they don't have payment gateways like DPO or even bigger companies. And that also makes it difficult for them to have a bigger audience or more clients, right? Another thing is in terms of access to finance. Entrepreneurs often struggle with accessing bank loans because they don't have collateral or they have high risk. So we need to also look into alternative methods of financing entrepreneurs because it's a risky area of business, of course, but the banks and financial institutions should also look into how they can create more attractive products, whether it's at lower interest rates or even no collateral, specifically for young entrepreneurs, but even for venture capitalists, right? Or, investors, angel investors. We don't really see a big appetite on the continent for investing in early stage businesses where they are only at an idea. So we need more support in terms of, financiers and investors taking risks on businesses, right? And not just in the big countries and the big startup spaces like the Moroccos or the Egypts and South Africas, but also more across the continent, right? And in Southern Africa specifically, what that looks like is we try to also create a more unified ecosystem where we're working together. So we're working across 4 or 5 different countries where we are trying to create similar policies, especially startup acts or startup policies that include everything from access to finance, from training and incubation, but also how to scale these businesses beyond their local borders. So what I see on the continent and for many years to come is that entrepreneurship is not going to slow down. If anything, there are going to be more entrepreneurs coming up, especially young people. And there's so much opportunity that exists in this space. There are so many challenges that we have, so many problems we have on the continent, and entrepreneurs are the ones that solve problems, right? So what I see for the future of the entrepreneurship landscape on the continent is a globally competitive one. I see a lot more investment coming into the continent, and not just centralized in certain countries, but spreading throughout. And I essentially want all of us to work together, for governments to work together better, but also for innovation enablers like the hubs or the universities and even the investors to work together to create more collaborations, right? So finding entrepreneurs from across the continent to do incubation and acceleration programs together, combining 2 or more startups to create something better out of that. I really see a lot of success possible, but for this we need to take more risks, especially at an investor side, to invest in ideas, to trust in entrepreneurs, but also for the incubation centers especially at university level, there's a big potential for innovation at university because the students are incredibly bright. And I think starting this, incubation or acceleration lifestyle kind of in universities where you have hackathons, where you have innovation challenges for computer science or mechanical engineering or any engineering students, they can create solutions to real world problems while they're studying and turn that into a business on the side, right? Because this is then great for innovation at university level, but also it's great for the students because then they can see that there's a viable business or career option besides just studying. So I think all of the stakeholders, government, entrepreneurs themselves, but also the support ecosystem like us as the incubation and acceleration hubs, we all need to kind of work better together, because at the moment it's very centralized and everyone's kind of doing their own thing. So we need to kind of have a pipeline, right? So from start to finish, how are we supporting entrepreneurs? What are we supporting them with? And then also have very clear outcomes, right? What kind of entrepreneurs do we want to create? And then working on supporting the environment or the ecosystem to create those entrepreneurs.